Welcome to LSB Feaster's Radio Air Check and Classic TV channel.
Issue number 17. The people still like Ronald Reagan, but the people don't like Ronald Reagan's policies. When it comes to giving him a vote of confidence or being a nice guy, close to 60% say he's a nice guy. But when it comes time to backing his views and policies, the American people back away. Is the time right? Is the time right for a move to the left in this country, Carolyn?
Absolutely. The time is right for a move to the left. And when I say that, I do not mean the extreme left. But the time is right in our country, as was just demonstrated.
Are you talking about middle of the road then?
I am talking about left of center, and if you have any question about that, you should tally up the vote against Bork.
Rocky, is the time right for a move to the left?
Remember this about Bork in the Senate. The majority of people is not always right, Carolyn. Remember that. That's common sense, but that's something
It is not the Senate I'm speaking of. It is the American people who spent our hard-earned money to call our senators and to write letters to tell them that we did not want a right-wing zealot to sit on the Supreme Court who has to look into the Constitution for your right and mine to privacy.
Forget the senators. I don't like the system, okay?
Rocky, forget Carolyn. Forget Carolyn for the moment. Is the time right for a move to the left?
What we need is a hardcore redneck in there to tell people where to go when the time gets
But there is no heir apparent, Rocky.
I don't want a man with morals in there.
Rocky, there is no heir apparent. There is no one on the right who is capturing the nation's fancy. Is the nation ready to move to the left, like it or not?
No, we're not ready to move to the left. We're too much to the left now.
You're wrong.
Captain Jack, what do you have to say on that?
Well, I guess when Carolyn campaigned for Shirley Chisholm, she'd like to see her in there.
I didn't campaign for her.
Yeah, that's what she learned in Grambling, where she went to school, took basket weaving.
Captain Jack, cheap shot to Carolyn aside. The fact of the matter is there is no heir apparent. Heir apparent. There is no one on the right that has captured the nation's fancy the way Ronald Reagan did. Is it time for a move to the left?
No, it's not time for a move to the left, and these polls are taken by press that takes these polls, go into the black community and pick names out of phone books that you can't even spell or pronounce and ask them these questions. What the hell do you expect?
You can't pronounce names like Brown and Johnson, Captain Jack?
Do who?
Brown and Johnson. You have trouble with names like that?
Mooka, boogie, eh?
Yeah, those types.
Lionel, is it time for a move to the left?
No, it's a time to move back to reality, not this right-wing...
Is left reality?
What?
Is left reality?
Not always.
Reality.
Not always, but the pendulum is swinging back at least to the midpoint. It will then go a little bit to the left, and it will balance out where it should be. Not all left, not all right.
Issue number 17. Are people like the rock and roll Klansmen dinosaurs destined for obscurity, Lionel?
Dinosaurs? You're the duck-billed platypus incarnate.
I'm a duck-billed platypus.
You are emblematic of a mentality that is went out with Gone with the Wind.
Wait a second. Are you talking to me or are you talking to Rocky?
Talking to Rocky.
Oh.
Rocky is an abomination. Rocky is absolutely the most, to me...
Well, aside from that, is he a dinosaur?
Dinosaur, yes. Pre-dinosaur. I'm talking about the little nymphs that crawled out of the ocean during the primordial ooze and the Big Bang. He's not Neanderthal. He's primordial. He is the last vestige of a demented and psychotic way of thinking that I hope this country never sees. And Jack is one step behind that.
Captain Jack, are people like Rocky dinosaurs destined for nothing?
No, and this goes back to your question you asked previously about talk radio. If this station and the other stations allow people like me and Rocky to get on here where we can talk to the people out there pertaining to our country, I think we're going to swing a lot of people, because Rocky's a descendant from the people who made this country. He's a descendant of the people who fought the wars and conquered the wilderness. And look, and then we have these people like that motor mouth that's talking now, who arrived here, who don't give a damn about our country. Only thing they want is get out of
Are you a dissenter? He's a dissenter.
No, I didn't interrupt you. Why are you interrupting me?
Are you saying descendant or dissenter?
Shut up, Lionel. We heard him on the floor, you Yankee.
You heard what I said.
Let him talk.
These people like this Lionel, this Carolyn, they weren't worth a damn when they got here, and they're not worth a damn now.
Carolyn, is Rocky and his kind, or is he a dinosaur?
Rocky and his friend Jack predate dinosaurs, and I would say that they have not evolved to that stage yet. And I would also like to point out to all the people who are listening to this program that Rocky has told outright lies. First of all, there's no Hazard County, Kentucky.
Filthy.
That's on television.
Shame,
Shut up, moron.
Why don't you write Ann Landers and learn how to speak on the phone?
Hazard, Kentucky is a town. It's spelled with one Z. It's a small town. All of my ancestors came here on the Mayflower. And Rocky would try till hell froze over to say that I did not have every qualification to be a member of his putrid clan. I am a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant female who was born and reared in the South, but I have an IQ over 60.
Carolyn, time is of the essence. Rocky, are you a dinosaur?
Today I'm a dinosaur. Tomorrow I won't be.
That's right.
Why?
Because when the destruction comes from the evil forces within, people will come to my way of thinking. People will be running for the new order. People will be running for special interest groups and saying, we've made a mistake.
That's right.
Moron.
All right, last segment of the program. 15 seconds each and every one of you for what else, since I'm ripping it off? Predictions. Carolyn, let me start with you.
My prediction is that this era of what is called conservatism, but which is not, in fact, it is, in my opinion,
time is of the essence, Carolyn. The
right-wing
prediction.
zealotry is gone.
Captain Jack, your prediction.
I predict that the white Christian people who made this country in this area are going to learn that there's two types of white people in this country, and that these white people, such as this Lionel and Carolyn, who are the ones
What's the prediction?
Trouble with the blacks, they're going to wise up, and we're going to get this country back where it belongs.
Lionel, your prediction.
My prediction is that within 5 years, Rockhead and Jack will both receive lobotomies and finally understand just exactly how stupid they've been.
Lionel, I'm sorry. Rocky, your prediction.
My prediction is that all children are not bad, and I hope and pray that no children will go hungry tonight, and that we can all live to learn to live in harmony.
Thank you, Rocky. History has been made. The Lassiter Group is no more. After the hour of 2 o'clock, I am exhausted. Friday, October the 9th, 1987. Lassiter with you until 4, as I am every weekday, right here at the Talk of Tampa Bay, WFLA. If you have any compassion, if you have any sympathy, any understanding in your hearts, you will call. You've heard of people begging for calls before. I'm not taking any chances. I am begging because I am beat. My head hurts. I will entertain any topic under the sun. I have no shame whatsoever. And today I have even less. The Lassiter Group. Something I've wanted to do for a long time. But there are many things I've wanted to do for a long time. Let me give you the...
Call Lionel a Jewish lawyer.
That's true.
Now, I have reason to believe that he's not really a Jewish lawyer. He is a lawyer, but I don't believe he's Jewish. So what I'd like to propose is that he be made an honorary Jewish lawyer.
An honorary Jewish lawyer?
Right.
Well, I don't really have any control over that, but, it's okay with me.
Well, basically,
it's okay with him.
The guy can't tolerate bigotry and stupidity, and that probably qualifies him.
You may have a point there.
Now, I don't know if he wants to become the real thing, because I don't know if he can handle the initiation ceremony.
Well, he may have already gone through it.
You never know. But aside
And I don't want to know either.
Huh?
And I don't want to know either.
He might tell you if you ask him.
Well, I'm not going to ask him.
Okay. In any
It'll be his
event,
secret.
That's a suggestion of mine, and if you ever, or when you speak to him again, see if he's interested in
Did you listen?
this honor.
Did you listen to the entire 2 hours?
A good part of it.
Why?
I was just fascinated by the whole thing.
Fascinated. What was it that fascinated you the most?
Just the total clash of totally irreconcilable differences. There was no way that you could get agreement between the two sides.
I would have thought that the only hope for getting 4 outrageous egotists in one room would be to put 4 talk show hosts into one room. No way. No way. Far greater egos.
That wouldn't have equaled this. And it wasn't a question of ego. It was a question of basically immovable positions.
Thank you, Jerry.
You're thoroughly welcome, Bob.
Appreciate. Hillsborough, 9.
Comment on your 2 hours.
Go for it.
I got to congratulate you. It was very interesting. I listened to the entire 2 hours. And I think the reason I did it, I agree with Jerry, what he just said.
Yesterday.
Ronald Reagan did not do this thing.
No, but Ronald Reagan took advantage of it yesterday and called Michael Dukakis an invalid.
He apologized for it, too.
Oh.
He certainly did.
So you've called up to tell us some of the great things that George Bush has done in his career.
Yes.
Well, go ahead.
All right. One thing, he has been very loyal to the presidency of the United States, which is more than you've done. You don't even...
I'm not running for president now.
Enough to call him sir. You call him idiots and everything else.
Well, when he does idiotic things, yes, I do. But I'm not running for president now. So what are some of the other great things that George Bush has done?
One thing about it, he won Congress. He ran for Congress in the state of Texas, and he won it, by God.
Yes, ma'am. He also ran for Senate in the state of Texas and lost, by God. He also ran for senator in the state of Texas and lost, by God.
Democrats.
Pardon?
You had your Ralph Yarbrough, your great big liberal that no one wanted.
Ma'am, it was Lloyd Benson that beat him.
I know who Lloyd Benson came and ran against George Bush. I am a native Texan. I moved down here just 3 years ago from Houston.
Great.
So I know a lot about the state of Texas, more than you would ever know.
Then you should also know about how Houston is suffering because of the Reagan administration.
Bush didn't do it and Reagan didn't do it. By God, it's
well, who did it, ma'am?
You liberals and people like you that got this place in such a mess.
Oh.
And all y'all are the ones...
Well, could you continue with his recitation of some of the great accomplishments of George Bush?
Well, one thing about it, he put the oil place back.
George Bush put the... What did
and look...
ma'am, what did George Bush... Ma'am, what did George Bush do to put the oil prices back?
He is not in a position to do it, but
well, then why did you say he did it?
He would, I say.
Well, why did you... Oh, he would.
He was a businessman.
Well, could you tell us what... Ma'am, could you tell us what he did do, not what he would do?
People in the state of Texas.
Ma'am, could you tell us what he did do, not what he would have done if he could have?
What he did when he was a businessman in the state of Texas. He gave a lot of people employment. He brought up money.
How many people did he employ, ma'am?
And I guarantee...
Ma'am, how many people did he employ?
Hundreds.
How many hundreds?
Look, you don't check all your numbers. I don't know. I haven't...
Oh, you don't know whether or not he employed anybody.
Do what?
You don't really know whether or not he employed anybody.
I certainly do know.
Oh.
I certainly do know that, but I can tell you this, Mike.
So in other words, anybody that employs people who has done great things?
Lloyd Benson was a good businessman. He helped the state of Texas. But I guarantee you George Bush didn't try to sell himself for $1,000 for to have breakfast with him.
Well, you know, who the hell would pay it? But could you continue with his great recitation of the marvelous accomplishments of George Bush's life?
Well,
besides what he would have done if he could have, and the fact that he once employed someone.
His father was a great pioneer.
Well, ma'am, George Bush is not responsible. Ma'am, George Bush is not responsible for what his father did or didn't do. Could you tell us some of... Ma'am, could you tell us some of the great accomplishments that George Bush has accomplished in his life?
He could not rise to where he has without his accomplishments.
Well, what are some of those accomplishments that has caused this great rise?
Being a good congressman.
Being a good congressman.
Director of the CIA, yes.
Well, what did he do as director of the CIA that you particularly liked?
So that idiots like you and draft
Ma'am, what did he do as head of the CIA that you particularly liked?
He got it stronger than what it is right now. And what
he got it stronger than what it is right now?
No, Jimmy Carter.
Well, Jimmy Carter's not running, ma'am.
No, but he was. And he did bring it up, and then brought it up again.
George Bush was CIA director prior to Jimmy Carter, not afterwards. So could you tell us what George Bush did?
Jimmy Carter brought it down. So why don't you ever mention George
Ma'am,
Bush?
could you tell us exactly what it was that George Bush did as CIA director that you liked?
Well, I liked for him keeping confidential things and fighting for the United States.
Ma'am, how do you know that he fought for the United States if he kept it confidential? You also like Muscatel?
Huh?
Well, I thought so. Ann in Bradenton. Ann, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Hello, Bob.
Hello, Ann.
The best thing that George Bush done, when he was director for a year for a CIA, he didn't do a thing. So I think we should be grateful that he did. He was just there in...
Ann, have you been listening to the hour?
Yes, I have.
Well, then you know I'm really on a roll with some of these Bush supporters, so, sorry. John in Tampa. John, you're on the air, I suppose, to tell us about the great accomplishments of George Bush.
This Lassiter?
Yeah, it is.
Hey, Lassiter, I've been hearing the steam all morning, but, you're for leaving out some mainstream voters.
Great. What are some of George Bush's great accomplishments, John?
Well, I want to tell you.
Great. We're all breathlessly awaiting for you to tell us some of George Bush's great accomplishments.
Labor like some fat paychecks, and they'll make it...
What are some of George Bush's great accomplishments, John?
Do you remember deregulated airlines and the Teamsters all put out of business when the Carter and the Kennedy...
Well, John can't tell us about the great accomplishments of George Bush, even though that was clearly the directive today. Rick in Tampa, perchance you can tell us about George Bush's great accomplishments.
Yeah, I can. Bush didn't fall like a cheap camera the way Dukakis did to Jesse Jackson.
What are some of George Bush's great accomplishments?
I'm telling you, he's not a wimp. Dukakis is the wimp the way he falls.
Rick, what are some of George Bush's great accomplishments?
These people will be sorry when they hit.
Do you know any great accomplishments that George Bush has ever done, Rick?
These people will be watering grass down here.
So you don't know of any great accomplishments that George Bush has?
When they hit with the new affirmative action, Bob.
Rick, you'll be lucky to have grass if George Bush is the president. Al in Clearwater. Al, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
How you doing, Bob?
Great. What are some of George Bush's great accomplishments?
It's a great show you have. To begin with, right now, I think it's a great show.
What are some of George Bush's great accomplishments, Al?
I'm telling you, the truth is I really can't tell you, okay?
Okay, then we'll go to somebody who can. Angela in St. Petersburg. Angela, what are some of George Bush's great accomplishments?
Well, number one, he was a war hero. He was shot down in World War II.
Millions upon millions of men were war heroes in the Second World War.
Okay, he was director of the CIA. And
what did he do as director of the CIA that you liked?
What did he do? Well, I think...
Yes, that was the question. What did he do as director of the CIA that you liked?
Well, at least he held it together. And
in other words, you don't know anything that he did as director of the CIA. You don't know whether he did things that you liked or you didn't like. All you know is that he was director of the CIA. Do you know under which president he served as director of the CIA?
I think it was under Ford.
You think it was under Ford?
Well, it was before Carter, so it was under Ford that he did it.
Well, there are other presidents before Carter, too.
Well, at least he was vice president of the United States. That's good. And at least he...
That's good.
Well, that is good. At least he fought...
Well, Walter Mondale was vice president of the United States. He also fought in the Second World War. Did you vote for him?
If I did vote, I would have voted for Mondale.
Uh-huh.
But, I mean, there's some good points as a vice president, George Bush.
So, in other words, you think that Mondale is better than Bush?
No, not really.
Well, you would have had an opportunity to choose between Mondale and Bush when Mondale was running, and you would have chosen Mondale.
I would have chosen Mondale, but Bush has good points, too.
Well, what are some of George Bush's great accomplishments, some of those good points?
Okay, I'll tell you, okay.
You said, okay, well...
As a good point he has, okay, even though Ronald Reagan had some bad policies, at least he stuck by him. He didn't go and deviate.
So, in other words, you like George Bush because he sticks to a man who has bad policies?
No, he sticks to the main guy. He sticks to the person he's working with. He's
well,
very
aside
loyal.
from supporting bad policies as a vice president, what else did George Bush do as vice president that you liked?
Well, at least he followed the president around. He didn't challenge the president.
Well, aside from following Ronald Reagan around, what else is it that George Bush did as vice president that you liked?
Well, okay. When Ronald Reagan stayed at home, he went abroad into Europe and did some of the...
Well, aside from traveling a lot, what else is it that George Bush did as vice president that you liked that qualifies him to be president?
Well, I think he I think he took over the Republican convention, not the convention, but he...
It hasn't been held yet.
I know that, but I think he's the main guy in the Republican thing. He's the strongest...
You think he's the main guy in the Republican thing?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's going to be... He might be the next president.
So, in other words, George Bush's greatest accomplishment is that he might be the next president.
He might be the next president,
and that's why we should vote for him, because he might be the next president.
He might be the next... And the Republicans are ruling everything.
Are you old enough to vote yet?
I will be in November.
Oh, my God. Joe in Tampa. Joe, you're on the air at 970 WFLA. What are some of George's great accomplishments?
His great I don't think this is based on his great accomplishments.
Yes, it is. I'm the one that sets the show, and that's what it's based on. George Bush's great accomplishments.
But if you look in history...
I read history frequently. What are some of George Bush's great accomplishments to this point this year?
Trying to become president.
I beg your pardon. There are many things many people who've done great things in 60 years of life, whether or not they were running for president.
Give me examples.
Give you an example?
Yeah.
Picasso painted great paintings, and he never ran for president.
He didn't become president.
I know. I said there are many. Sir, I said there are many people who have done great things in their lives by the time they're 60 years old. No, whatever. What are some of George Bush's great accomplishments that qualify him to be president?
No one has great accomplishments.
I beg your pardon, sir. Many people have many great accomplishments.
President?
George Bush is not a president, sir. What are some of George Bush's great accomplishments in 60 years of life?
John F. Kennedy's great accomplishments. None.
In other words, you don't know of any George Bush accomplishments.
George Bush he ain't got none. And neither does
that's exactly the point I'm trying to make. Ken in Clearwater. Ken, you're on the air. What are some of George's great accomplishments?
How you doing, Bob? I got just two things.
What are some of George's great accomplishments? Let's get right down to business here.
Okay, I got two things. I can't remember, and I wasn't there.
It's not the least bit amusing, Ken. We're talking to people who are Bush supporters. If you can't follow the rules, then you just don't get a chance to play the game. You understand what I mean? Let's go to John in St. Petersburg. Quickly, John, George Bush's great accomplishments.
Hi, Mr. Lassiter. I got about three of them. The first one is I think he's unexcelled in handsomeness.
Okay. People just don't follow the rules, so people who don't follow the rules don't get a chance to talk. Why do you guys do this to yourselves, huh? Waste your life in it. I, sir, was not the hypocrite who wanted you to waste your life in it.
No.
And on top of that, sir, I don't believe I have ever really taken a stand on Dan Quayle's military service or lack thereof.
No, you
because
haven't.
it is irrelevant, sir. So why in the name of God did you start the conversation by saying that I had? Get off my phone, you jerk!